and opinions of Hot 7 TV or its affiliates.
Well, good night, St. Lucia. Good night, everyone all over the world, and welcome again to your favorite TV show, Keeping It Real. I'm your special host, Norbert Williams, with you tonight until we wrap it up. And I got a chock full of action for you. So let's get right into the shout outs. Of course, every time I get on here, I tell you the stories about people who meet me all over St. Lucia and demand. You gotta mention my area. And today was no different. Met this lady who confronted me and said, well, what's going on? I want to keep it real with you. And that's what she did. Keep it real with you. Summersdale. Watch you every week and you don't shout us out. So good night, Summersdale, again, because I have shouted you all out before. Good night to Bize. Good night to Kareli. Good night, Tupac too. Good night, Leclerc, Cap Estate, Groselet, Bonte, Monchy, Lafayette, La Wetwet, Marisol. Where else? Am I missing anybody in between? Corinth, Grand Riviere, Padella, whatever it's called, Montsepan. That's right. Where else? Castries, Leclerc. I said that already. Sans-Souci. Barnard Hill, Marsha, Entrepot, Bagatelle. Good night to you. Where else? Goodlands. I can't take your call now. I'm on the air. All over St. Lucia. Kanawi. Market Street in Anse-Lorraine. I'm hearing myself talking. Market Street in Anse-Lorraine. Good night to you. Massac, Lacroix, Jacmel, Roseau, Latoc Road, Ciceron. Good night to you. All over St. Lucia. Dennery, Richford. Hey, special good night. Let's keep it real. That's right. You know who you are. Monrepo, Mico, Dennery, Vieux. So many fans all around St. Lucia. Labrie, Dennery, Mico. Did I say that already? I'm in the ring. Bermuda. Haven't even gotten to the diaspora yet. Choiseul, Soufriere, Kanawi, and all in between. A special good night to you. But I have a special good night for Kimani. He's not in Castries anymore, and his parents say he loves the show. He's down in Choiseul. So a special good night to Kimani in Choiseul. And of course, those of you in the diaspora, Bermuda, in Atlanta, Georgia, New York City, the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, all of you over there, Staten Island, those of you in Miami, Florida, in the region, Antigua, Trinidad, Barbados, all over the place, Toronto, Canada, London, England, and all over the world. Good night, and thank you so much. And of course, the original Keeping It Real crew, listening live via simulcast on Sky FM 93.1. Listening in with the man Champagne. Special good night to all of you. Getting right into the actions, folks. Getting right into the action. You know, Friday last week was the 10th of July. And of course, you elect members of parliament or parliamentary representatives, and they're expected to do their job. And Friday was no different for Prime Minister Alan Chastanet. And he visited, along with the Dennery South parliamentary representative, Honorable Edmund Estefan, and they visited the fisheries complex down there. And of course, as usual, you know, it's the season, and the politicos and the hackalacks and whoever, they want to make noise. They want to make a scene. But, you know, trying to politicize the whole thing is the leader of the opposition. You know, he's like playing follow the leader. Everything Fortuna Belrose does, the next day he tries to outdo her by doing the same thing and more. Prime Minister and the rep for Dennery South went to the fisheries complex down there. And of course, the following day, Philippe J. Pierre, leader of the opposition, went there with his entourage. Of course, it was all rigged. You see him strutting in there like, you know, making a grand entrance. And he had his crowd of people who were put in the fisheries there to, you know, a photo op in, you know, it's a phony photo op. But the people of St. Lucia aren't that gullible. You know, he didn't go there for any particular purpose, but just to show, you know, trying to outdo Prime Minister Alan Chastney. You got a long way to go, buddy. Long way to go. But, you know, we all understand. We all know what it is. Theater. That's all it was. Theater. You could see this lady in front there and all of them in their red shirts. That wasn't natural. That wasn't... It was contrived. But anyway, getting back to some real work that was being done. The Prime Minister and the representative, Edmond Estefan, were at the fisheries complex in Dennery to evaluate the situation of the building, the complaints that had emanated from that location as far as the structure, as far as the drainage, as far as flooding, as far as ice concerns. And I must warn you tonight, that there are two photos that I will show. I will let you know that if you want to turn away and you don't want to look, it's entirely up to you. But let's see the first photo, which is, of course, a general view of the fisheries complex there, the Dennery Fishing Port. And there are lots of issues over there that need to be addressed, and the purpose of the visit was to identify those problems and to get them resolved. So let's go to the next photo, and we can see the Prime Minister and Edmond Estefan and the lady for the Blue Waters, a daughter of the soil from Four Shore, doing something for herself and for St. Lucia. And let's see. Whoa. Turn your head now, folks. This, you know, this is the drain where the fisheries complex persons dump, after they clean their fish, gills, intestines, entrails, fins, scales, fish head they don't want. Yo ka jete tout bagay an drain la. That needs to be addressed. Now tell me, government really needs to do something like that? I mean, seriously? Galetasa. I mean, look at that, St. Lucians. But in trying to fix that issue, Philippe J. Pierre wants to play politics and wants to come by the next day and show that he's all in red and in support. That's the work that's being done there. And I saw this, folks, and I could not believe my eyes, and I will not describe to you or use the word that came to mind. The S, te, on the end. Starts with S and it ends with te. Right? The St. Lucian word. I mean, look at that. I mean, really? Don't we have any pride in ourselves? Can't we dispose of these things better? It had to come to a situation like this. I mean, it should be water going down there, not that. I mean, come on. And even if it wasn't clogged and it went down, it'd be going into the sea. It would be going into the sea. Now, can you imagine over time the quantity of that decaying matter going into the Dennery Bay area, what that would do for fish life there, what that would do for the smell in that area. I mean, come on. But some people want to politicize it and try to get mileage and go the following day with a whole entourage of people and fake, you know, the indigenous peoples of Dennery. But time will tell. Time will tell. Now, there you are with the ice production room, which is non-functional. So all of this needs to be repaired. Fishermen have always called out for ice, and that is what's being done there. Great job. Great job. And of course, the Prime Minister and the Minister did go down to Vieux. They had a look at what they call the pond or the daito to have a look at the condition. And I want to tell you, it is deplorable. It's disgusting. It's horrendous. That fish are cleaned on the docks there, and everything is thrown right into the water. And if you look in, the water is gray, it is murky, it's decaying matter down there. If you fall into that water, you got to go to the hospital for a shot. And there you have, look at the condition of the pond in Vieux. And the Prime Minister was having a look there to see for himself what needs to be done there to make life better for the fishermen, plain and simple. And of course, for the persons who come down to purchase fish, because I'm not buying fish down there. I'm telling you straight, I wouldn't buy fish down there. Straight. I'm keeping it real. So that's that. That was Friday. So from there, we went to Vieux International Airport. And of course, you know that Thursday last week, we got our first international flight, American Airlines, landed at Vieux International Airport. But a lot of work had been done preparing a screening facility for the passengers who would be coming off the planes that are coming in from the US and wherever else. So let's have a look at what it looks like in that facility. And this is yours truly videotaping or video recording, and that will be entering from the aircraft into the tent. That's one of those jazz tents, and whoop-de-doo. It was great that we actually got those tents last year, because look at the purpose that they being put to, the use that they're being put to right now. So there'd be two people at those yellow round tables, and in the center right there, well, to the left, you have your hand sanitizer as soon as you come in through the door, and then you meet that person there, and they would direct you. There are 3 queues, no test results. So if you come in without a test result, and here's the special needs, if you have a child with you, or if you're a sick person. And the other queue is if you have no negative test results. Negative test results. You've taken your test and it says negative for COVID. So you'd take that line. Huge expanse of tent, social distancing, and if you're not online, you can have a seat, and we'll be seeing that in a while. But the reverse angle view of where you'd be coming in the door of the aircraft. So you'd be coming in through the corridor and through those 2 doors in the background there. So over there on the other end, you have the chairs where you'd be sitting, whether you have to fill out any forms or anything of the sort. There you go, folks. So that's the facility where you come in, nice and bright. No rain, storm, or anything will be hitting you there. Let me see it as I see it, so you can come to your own conclusions about what has been done. So if you were going down one of those aisles, you'll be going down one of those aisles, and then up ahead, you'll get a number of persons from the Ministry of Health, evaluating you, taking your paperwork as far as COVID-19 is concerned, and if you need to get swabbed, if you need to be tested. That's the isolation room if you test positive. Another isolation room, doffing room, that's putting on the clothes and everything, the PPEs. Nurses' quarters at the back there, and that's what it looks like from the authorities' positions. And on the other side, we have the swabbing room. So if you have not been tested, they will test you there if they see if there's a need to. Sanitizing station, that's where hand sanitizer would go. And this desk here now, after you pass through the initial set of questions and officials, then they would give you an armband, and that armband will dictate where you go to when you get your bags and clear customs, where you go to outside. So you're not just going to go outside and run away. So you're going to go to your taxi, you're going to go to your transportation to the hotel, so you can see everything there. If you're symptomatic, you have a red tag. So all of this will dictate along the course of your being at Uenora International Airport how you will be directed to what officials, if you're going to be put in isolation, if you're going to be put if you have to go to a hotel. All of that is there. And these are the regional islands, the regional countries that are in the bubble. So we're going to go out now, and here we are in the immigration area. And to the right there, you see something on a stand. That is the temperature scanner, another temperature scanner, which would scan your whole body as you're walking into that area. And although it's not on, for your benefit, you could see the officer there on the screen could see, you know, infrared, red, yellow parts of your body, and they would get an alert on there if you are above the critical temperature. And that's the immigration area. They all have their screens, and to the back where it would be open, they have another area which would prevent anyone from the back being able to sneeze or come in contact with the officers attending to the passengers. Then we go down that area there to the baggage area, where you will collect your bags and go to the customs officers. Just so you could get a walkthrough, I want you to feel like you were there just like I was there, so you can understand exactly what the process is. So even if you're not traveling, or even if you're not coming in, you know exactly what it feels like. A virtual tour of Uenora International Airport. There you go, customs officers. Well, there's no flight on the ground at that time, and then after you collect your bag, there's the Prime Minister and the airport manager, and you go through the doors, and you will be directed exactly where you need to go to. If you have a special taxi that's going to take you into home quarantine, or if you're going on a bus that's taking you to a hotel, you're going to go to that. If you're coming from a bubble country, all depends on what the decision is when you by the time you get to that point. And that's it there, folks. That's it. So we're going to be moving along a little bit. And from the sublime to the bizarre to the ridiculous. That's what I call this next segment, folks. And it was last week, Wednesday, Newsmaker Live, and the special guest of Timothy Polion was parliamentary representative for Castries South, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. I'm telling you, folks, I'm telling you, I'm not going to play you the entire show, of course, but little clips from it, and if I have the testicular fortitude to go through all of those that I have here, I'll go through it with you. But we'll start off with the first clip. I want you to pay attention. First clip of Ernest Hilaire. Roll it.
I would say to you, it's the same Philip here. who said that the Prime Minister did not attend that meeting or that CARICOM meeting over in Barbados when he was present. And the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition... Can I ask you a question? The leader of the opposition was acting on advice that he got.
Can I ask you a question, Tim? And think about it deeply before you answer, so as to not to say anything that might be a little embarrassing. Have you ever seen any recording of the Prime Minister participating in the meeting?
You said participating?
Yeah.
What did the leader of the opposition say? The leader of the opposition say he did not attend.
Right. And I ask you again, have you ever seen any recording, document, or anything of the Prime Minister participating in the meeting?
I did not really say any, no, hold on. There's a difference.
Okay. Doc, because let me tell you something.
Doc,
let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario.
There's a vast
Let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario.
He attended. The fact is,
no, can I give you a scenario? There is an opening ceremony for an event, and people are seated there, they take photos. 10 minutes into the event, somebody leave and they go down by the bar in the hotel. They spend the rest of the meeting by the bar. And people said, but he didn't attend.
Pause that. Ask you to pause. You know, folks, but it deserves that anyway. You know, this is the I don't want to say stupidity, but this is the ridiculousness we have to face when discussing serious issues in St. Lucia. Absolute nonsense about did you see any photos and you heard it. Roll back a few seconds again. Play that last bit there.
Opening ceremony for an event, and people are seated there, they take photos. 10 minutes into the event, somebody leave and they go down by the bar in the hotel. They spend the rest of the meeting by the bar. And people said, but he didn't attend the meeting.
Okay, pause that right there. You go to a meeting, yes, that can happen. But you never said that's what happened over there. Two totally separate things you're talking about. What if again? You know the usual what if. You go at the beginning, you take a picture. Alan Shastney, Prime Minister Alan Shastney was at the meeting. Prime Minister Alan Shastney was one of the main organizers of that meeting to deal with the emergence of this global pandemic that we're facing now. Under Alan Shastney, St. Lucia has been rated as the best by any standards in dealing with this situation. So all you're trying to inject there is some sort of, well, he may have been there, but he was nonsense. Because you know what? I saw photos of you supposedly in London as St. Lucia's High Commissioner, but I don't know if you did any work. Does that mean you did no work? So because I was not in the office to see you doing work, or because there's no video of you in London doing work, whether it's with Jufali or anybody else, does that mean you didn't do any work? I mean, what nonsense is this? Absolute nonsense. Or if somebody goes to a conference and they take a picture at the beginning and they go to the bar in 10 minutes. Well, who said that happened there? There are news reports about Prime Minister Alan Shastney's participation in the meeting. What was concluded from the meeting? So stop trying to prey on the ignorance or lack of information that some people may have or not have. Continue rolling it. Prepare yourself for more nonsense.
And then somebody says, you know, my information tells me that John whatever did not attend the meeting. But he can argue, I was there at the start and the photo was taken with me.
But more than that, no. More than that, what Mr. Philip JP said was, as a frequent flyer, the Prime Minister is a frequent flyer and did not even leave St. Lucia to attend the meeting.
Oh, he said that?
He said that.
Oh.
Okay?
I don't know that he said that.
No, I'm serious. He said that. He said
I mean, this is the level that we have descended to in St. Lucia. Papi show. Papi show. This is an intelligent response, trying to play with people's minds. Well, you may not see a picture and he wasn't there. And if somebody took a picture at a conference, they were nonsense. That's what you refer to as non sequitur. It's irrelevant to the discussion. There is no dispute that Alan Chasney went to that meeting and participated in the meeting. But the games, next one.
The point you made earlier on about opening the borders, you have great difficulty. But
No. I explained to you the process we think should be followed, because we have to learn eventually to live with COVID internationally.
Pause that right there. We have to learn to live with COVID. You hear it, of course. You have to pay attention to the words, to what is being said. We have to learn to live with COVID. That's the new normal, because you know what? And he's exactly right. We have to learn to live with it, because we cannot shut down the country forever. We cannot shut down St. Lucia for 6 months. We can't shut it down for a year. We can't shut it down for 2 years until there's a vaccine or something to deal with the coronavirus. So we have to learn to live with it. And what is learning to live with it? What measures do we have to put in place to live with it? Hand sanitizing, wearing your mask in public, washing your hands at every opportunity with soap and water, at least 15-20 seconds, social distancing, staying home if you don't need to go anywhere, minimize mass crowds. All of these things. That's what you have to do to live with COVID. Continue.
As well as regionally and locally.
But also in April, you were the one who said that the opening of the economy was equal to government playing Russian roulette with St. Lucian lives.
But what they're doing now to allow Americans to come in is Russian roulette.
Pause that right there.
About April.
What they're doing now, by allowing Americans to come in, is Russian roulette. So the COVID or the coronavirus that's in Antigua or in Trinidad is any different to the coronavirus in the US? Is it any different to the coronavirus that some of our returning nationals on the cruise ships were infected with? As he said, we have to learn to live with COVID. That's the new normal. And what do? You put the measures in place. And what have those measures done? Protected us. What have they done? Every case that has come up positive from a cruise ship employee who came back home has been detected. So that is why also the government, the Prime Minister has said, the CMO has said, Minister of Health has said, the officials have said, that this first phase will be a pilot phase for 6 weeks. A limited number of hotels will be in that first phase to test out the protocols, to test out what is happening, to see how the protocols, how the procedures, how the people work with each other, how the authorities work. And the system is being put to the test so that we can decide whether we have to roll back things a little or whether we can continue opening up the country. That's the only way you can do it. You can't open it carte blanche. You can't say you're not opening it. So you have to have a pilot phase to examine, to evaluate. That's what you do. And the world is watching St. Lucia. The region is watching St. Lucia. And all what they said about St. Lucia is the least prepared. And now you're trying to twist it a kind of way and say, well, they're nonsense. St. Lucia has blazed the trail. Look at what the facility we have at the airport. That's not games that St. Lucia is playing. And you know darn well that the economy has to be opened up. Oh, we can be innovative. Innovative with what? Tell that to the 18, 20,000 people who are out of a job. Innovative with what? Dashing? Or as some people say, dashing? I mean, innovative with what? The local economy cannot sustain St. Lucia. That's a fact. If our economy is dependent, what? 70%, 80% on tourism, whatever it is, 65, 70%. Where are you substituting that with local business? There's no way. So stop trying that 3B's principle on people. Bullshit baffles brains. Absolute nonsense. And you know it. And you admitted it. That we have to learn to live with it. So learning to live with it means you gotta learn to live with it. And the possibility exists that whether you open to the US or whether you open to the bubble, to Antigua, to Dominica, they all have COVID. It's the measures you put in place to minimize the risk. That's what you have to do. There's no other way to get around it. That is why you have the 14-day quarantine period. That is why you have having to remain on premises. And because of the breaches that we've had, measures have been tightened. But people are not in jail, whether they come from the US or Antigua or anywhere else. Whether it's a returning national. Until there is a vaccine or a cure or whatever you want to call it for the coronavirus, for COVID-19, there will always be risk. Keep rolling.
We're talking about April, and we're talking about opening the economy, not to outside interests. At the time, the government was looking to open the local economy, and you had a difficulty with it in April. No. In April, but you said
read what I read.
In April, you said that the opening of the economy was equal to government playing Russian roulette with St. Lucian lives. And the issue you had.
So you want me to respond to that?
I'm just saying the problem you had was that people are going to the supermarkets and so on. Yeah. People were congregating in certain areas and so on. You had a difficulty with it.
And you know what happened after I said that? The country was divided in two. 758, 759. Huh?
No, but what was wrong with that?
Because it said to you that a situation arose where you did not want people from the south to be mixing with people from the north to restrict the movements of people.
But why do you think this was done?
Because, Tim, there were still instances of COVID and the threat of we having in-country transmission.
Primarily because you have people entering the island through illegal means.
Oh, that's why it was happening?
But you
pause that there.
Oh.
You saw that dumb look? You know, people sometimes when they want to pretend they don't. Oh, that's why that was happening? Of course that's why it was happening. I mean, aren't you in St. Lucia? People were terrified. There was the videos all over social media, on the news, on this station. Video of people at Louvet. Video of people at Donkey Beach coming in. You didn't see it? There was a lot of uncertainty because people knew that there was lots of movement between Martinique and St. Lucia. Everybody and their dog knew it. And the decision of the government to institute the North and South zones, or A and B zones, was to limit it, the movement of people, in the event that somebody who had come in via backdoor, via Connaught, that it would limit or restrict the spread if there was somebody who came in infected. But, of course, you're pretending you don't know. You're pretending. And if you didn't know, what's the conclusion to come to if you didn't know? And you want to talk so authoritatively about it. Continue.
Oh, okay.
But you were not aware that this was happening at the time?
Well, I heard reports
Play that
that
again.
was
Go
happening,
back
but
again.
now is the first time I'm hearing
I mean,
the
that
reason
looked
why
like
we had
something
COVID in
like,
St. Lucia.
go back. That looked like bot or something, you know, bot, you know. I check the facial expression.
Oh, okay.
But
Play that
you were
again.
not aware.
Oh, okay.
But
Oh, okay.
but you were not aware that this was happening at the time?
Well, I heard reports that was happening, but now is the first time I'm hearing the reason why we had COVID
No,
in
I'm not
St.
saying
Lucia.
that's the reason. I'm just saying that that would be among the reasons, because the identified areas would have been the East Coast.
But the East Coast is both the 758 and 759, huh?
Yes, and it was being suggested that people were entering our borders illegally.
Right,
Yes,
and
from Martinique and so on.
yeah.
I'm not in a
Let's
position-
assume it's true. Go
I'm
on.
not in a position to say why, but I'm saying I can deduce maybe that was one of the reasons.
Tim, but listen to that, but I still look at your point. But again, if there was chances of COVID in St. Lucia, there was still the threat of in-country transmission. There was. And you're saying I'm opening...
Folks, at that time we didn't know. There were a lot of unknowns. Everybody was concerned. And it was felt that the best thing to do at the time was to institute these measures until we understood what was going on, so that we could observe what was happening in the country, that we could take direction from the World Health Organization, from the Pan American Health Organization, from CARPHA, from our own officials, that we could evaluate what was happening in St. Lucia. Because the things that we did back then, maybe even in February, I'm sure you recall that we say the situation is changing every day. What you did last week, you no longer did the following week. So St. Lucia, out of an abundance of caution, the CMO and the other officials in St. Lucia decided that the best thing to do in the interest of the safety of all St. Lucians and everybody here was to set up the 2 zones. What wrong with that? Let's go to the next one.
And that is the opening. Don't you trust our medical personnel? Because those comments are being made by the chief medical officer. Every time she says,
But
"We're
you
gonna open
know,
the
it's
borders."
bewildering. Hear what you're saying to me. Hear what you're saying to me. When it comes to questioning whether what government is announcing is right or wrong, you're saying to me, oh, is the chief medical officer that is saying to do that? Don't you trust her? When it succeeds, why are you not praising the government for all the good work?
I'm just saying.
So when, hear that,
Why don't you
Steve,
praise the government as well?
So hear that. You're saying to me, when people are having doubts, blame the CMO and ask people to trust her because she's the one that's making all the decisions. But if it works out well, give the government the praise. You can't have it both ways, Tim. The point is, the CMO is giving medical advice. The policy decisions are not the CMO own. They're not hers. The policy decisions are not the CMO decisions. The decisions to open up the country and allow Americans to come in is not a CMO decision.
But we've heard
what she may be told is that we plan to do this. Can you advise us on the most robust protocols to put in place to minimize consequences for St. Lucia? And as a professional, she will have to design those protocols. She may be asked, do you think X, Y, and Z is the case? And she will give professional advice, but she's not a policy maker. And I don't think it is fair to the CMO to be virtually saying she's the one responsible for making those decisions, and the government is just implementing it.
Whether we believe it or not.
Pause that there, pause that there,
heard
right there. Pause that there. Absolute nonsense. She is the one. The government can make policy decisions, and the CMO will give the experts advice. And the policy decisions may need to be adjusted, as well as the advice can take policy decisions into consideration. But neither one of them will make the decision on their own. It has to be a collective decision. It has to be. And where do you have any information that the policies of this government have not been in sync with the advice, or the advice of the CMO has not been in sync with the policy decisions of the government? I mean, trying to create some sort of doubt as if the government is continually overriding the CMO and the CMO cannot have her way, as if it's supposed to be a conflict. It's supposed to be a working together for the betterment of all St. Lucians. But all how he wants to twist it as if there's some conflict between the policy and the medical opinions or the medical advice from the CMO. Maybe that's what he's accustomed to on the other side over there. I don't know. I don't know. Go to the next clip for me, please. We're going to get through this quickly.
I'm asking, is it worth putting St. Lucia through that possibility? It may not happen, huh? It may not. That's what Russian roulette is. When you press the trigger, it may not blow off your brains, but it may blow off your brains. I'm asking, and average St. Lucians are asking, is it worth St. Lucia facing that risk?
Okay, hold on there. Pause that there. Was it worth St. Lucia going through the Jufali affair? Was it worth, or is it worth, or is it like Russian roulette for St. Lucia to be caught still with a $500 million lawsuit in the Grindberg affair? Was it worth St. Lucia having to endure and go through Rochamel? Was it worth St. Lucia going through cost overruns? Huh? Was it worth it? At some point, there is no decision most of the time that is perfect, you know. You have to weigh the pros and cons. What pros and cons were there in the Jufali scandal? Would you like to tell us about that? What were the pros and cons, and what was the serious repercussions of the Grindberg affair? Huh? But you see, when it all, whatever the decision you take, what it all boils down to is what the outcome is, you know. And you have to suffer the consequences of the outcome. And like you said just a few moments ago, you're playing the Russian roulette. It's the end result. But taking measures to safeguard the people of St. Lucia is not Russian roulette. There's no perfect way of dealing with this situation. And the very reason why you have a different opinion and why professionals in the field have different opinions is because there is no perfect way to deal with it. There is no perfect way to deal with a virus. There may be more than one way. And still, in dealing with the virus, you have to decide whether the consequences are worse than the benefits. Dilemma. And this is what the government has tried to do. Weigh the benefits, the pros and cons, the health aspect of this situation, and the economic aspects of this situation. But anyway, enough of that. You take up enough of my time. Flush that for me, please. That's what it deserves. Waste of time with that interview. There's more there, but I just couldn't bring myself to going through it again and bringing it out. We'll take our first break. We'll be right back.
Avoid the congestion and traffic associated with Castries City and Rodney Bay shopping and come to Gablewoods Mall. We have everything you'd possibly want, from a sprawling supermarket to a complete furniture store, from your choice of elegant boutiques to professional photography, dry cleaning, a hardware store, medical facilities, drugstores, hair and beauty salons, an eyewear center, and so much more. We truly do have it all, along with a food court which provides sumptuous meals and free Wi-Fi while you dine. Parking is plentiful and shopping times most convenient. Come to Gablewoods Mall. We're the mall that started it all.
The Bryce water tanks are of top quality and highly durable.
It's a monolithic tank, meaning it's just one unit, which makes it stronger than the other tanks, which comes in two pieces. It also carries a Hellguard lining, which is FDA approved.
Bryce and Company, build for living, build for life.
Tibanan Caribbean Bistro and Bar, nestled within Coco Palm, a boutique hotel in the heart of entertainment capital Rodney Bay, offers a truly unique experience with the best food, drinks, and music. Open 7 a.m. to 12 midnight daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Tibanan specializes in authentic French Caribbean cuisine, delectable tropical cocktails, and the best live entertainment on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Tibanan also offers catering for weddings, special occasions, and conferences. For reservations, call 456-2800 or email reservations@coco-resorts.com. Tibanan Caribbean Bistro and Bar, where passion meets quality.
Tibanan Caribbean Bistro is now open for takeaway and delivery only. Place your orders by calling 456-2866 or 724-9309 or email orders@coco-resorts.com. Takeaway orders to be collected at hotel reception area and delivery fees vary on your location.
Well, welcome back, folks. Welcome back from that quick break. And we're going to get into the headliner, well, kind of, for tonight's show. It was the caption that went out on the promo on Sunday. And it's taken from the acceptance speech for the Democratic nomination for president on the 15th of July, 1960, by none other than JFK, John F. Kennedy. I want to read it for you here. We stand today on the edge of a new frontier, the frontier of the 1960s, the frontier of unknown opportunities and perils, the frontier of unfulfilled hopes and unfulfilled threats. Beyond that frontier are uncharted areas of science and space, unsolved problems of peace and war, unconquered problems of ignorance and prejudice, unanswered questions of poverty and surplus. 60 years ago, and just changing 1960s to the 2020s or the 2000s, everything said then applies now. And everything there said then applies now to St. Lucia and applies to Vieux. Because Dr. Kenny Anthony echoed some of the words from this speech here when in 1998, at the opening of the shopping plaza down in Vieux, the mall or Macy's, whatever it was called then, referred to Vieux as the new frontier. And recently, not too long after the elections, Dr. Kenny Anthony again was mirroring another statesman, although trying to do it in his own way, when he said, "We will fight you." But that, dear folks, those of you who don't pay attention or don't know about those famous speeches in history, was another set of lines from Winston Churchill. But you know, if you have not been to the South in a while, a trip to Vieux on a Friday, or any time at all during the week, will give you a very good idea that the new frontier is rising in Vieux. And what you may have known back before 2016 of Vieux as a ghost town, and I have referred to it as a ghost town on many occasions, stray dogs, blazing sunshine, nothing happening in the town. It's like a sleepy town on the US-Mexico border, or southern Texas or Arizona or in Nevada somewhere. And I've said before, the only thing that was missing in Vieux was tumbleweed. You've seen those Western movies where the dust is blowing and the cowboy is sitting under the veranda with his 6-gallon hat over his eyes in the afternoon taking his little siesta, and the wind is blowing through. Wind effects. And this big, tumbleweed, this grass just rolls across. That's the only thing that was left to be seen. That's how dead Vieux was. Friday afternoon, man, that place is livelier than New Year's and Juve all in one. Lahan, Kasi Chile. St. Jude's Hospital project is on. Money into the southern economy and into St. Lucia. St. Jude's, Huanora International Airport is beginning to roll. Money into the economy down there. The Grace water intake works have commenced. Money into the economy down there. The Wasco Southern Building Headquarters, Kisau Lake, money into the economy down there. Lucerne University, although the delay of COVID is about to start up again, more money into the economy. And tomorrow we'll see the opening of ITEL BPO, another call center in the South. More money into the economy. And Ojo Labs, let's roll right into that. The nonsense, you've been getting it on WhatsApp and Facebook and seeing all the ignoramuses and the hackalacks. You should be immune to the nonsense now. Fear factor. Ojo Labs to close. Ojo Labs closing. Ojo leaving. They ban Marty. Stop lying. Why you lying? You know the word that's missing in there. Why you lying? Stop lying. Ojo Labs ain't going nowhere, folks. As a matter of fact, I have it on good grounds. I have it on good grounds that Ojo Labs is not leaving St. Lucia. In fact, quite to the contrary, they will begin hiring new or additional employees soon. Belelesh. You hear lie? That is lie they were telling. Every day, every week, another lie. They had this meeting there. Alan Chasney, they don't want him as prime minister. They want this one there. Parliament, he threatened to dissolve parliament. Oh my gosh! Stop! It's not funny anymore. Ojo Labs now has all the employees working from home. Can you believe that? They set up Wi-Fi for them. They set up in the house. They set up, set up their internet so they could get in, remotely and all of that sort of thing. All of them working from home. And the production has not dropped. St. Lucians work well. Our young people work well. Work very well. So I want to deal with an issue here, folks. It has been bothering me for a while, and I thought that I would get some information. We're going until 11 tonight, I thought that I would get some information for you because there's been a lot of nonsense regurgitated. Remember all the nonsense about DSH in 2016, 2017, 2018, last year? Well, they're bringing them back again. The same old worn-out recording. Same old worn-out recording. Oh, they're closing down the landfills for DSH, for T.O.R. King and all of this nonsense. Nonsense! Stop lying. You're lying. Anybody say so, you lie. Tell them Norbert said they lie. They lie. Last Mati. They burn Montez. The landfill or the garbage dump in Vieux Fort opposite the stadium, folks, before it became a landfill, was a sand mining pit. Monte ka ale la pou vole sab. And it was converted into a landfill in 2003. Now, landfills have a lifespan, and it's usually about 20 years. But other conditions can dictate how long that lifespan is, whether it's longer or whether it's shorter. And tell me if it doesn't make sense. If you have two houses around and you have a landfill, it'll last more than 20 years, don't you think? But if you have a large town next to it, and the town is growing, and more development is going there, the landfill may last 14 years or less. And you also have to evaluate the risk, because landfills very often catch fire. And sometimes it can be like a charcoal pit you don't even know, and then boof! And the last fire at the Vieux Fort landfill was in 2019, March last year. And you know how long the fire lasted? 3 to 4 days. 3 to 4 days. In 2015, during the previous administration, you see, folks, you see. In 2015, it was decided, before the last elections, it was decided that the Vieux Fort landfill was at capacity and should be closed. Was that decision made because of DSH? Was it? The decision was made in 2015 that the landfill had to be closed. And that information from the manager of the Solid Waste Management Department, St. Lucia Solid Waste, qui ça marche en chinois. Do your homework. In Solid Waste Management have had great difficulty in approving new locations, because either they were too close to coastal waters or too close to inland waters, or the land had been earmarked when they identified a spot for hotel development. But you see, the thing is, there was a problem, and there we go with all the patrimony. The mangrove, the Mankoti mangrove. You see, when you have a landfill, hey, there's a monster flying around inside here. Water falls in and it leaches toxic waters, toxic chemicals into the soil. And that toxic chemical was leaching into the Mankoti mangrove, where all so in love with the environment and the fish and everything. Oh my gosh, I could just hug a mangrove. Where are they? Where were they? Nothing. They said absolutely nothing. But what I was informed is that the reason why that place needed to be closed down again is because it was not lined. When you go set up a landfill, a garbage dump, you either line the bottom with clay or you line it with a plastic material. You've seen that, but specially made for a landfill. That was not done. And also, when you build it the proper way, like Dayglow is built, you don't have any seepage into the river that's right next to it. Because what? Because it's built properly. And you have a number of ponds where this toxic runoff, which is collected down below, is pumped into those ponds. Now, what has this government done? There's also the concerns. You see, folks, there's also the concerns about what is attracted to landfills. Birds. And what is 2 kilometers from the landfill? What? An airport. Birds and planes don't mix. And there's a report from the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. Give me the first page, the relevant page of that report. Look at it, folks. Well, in St. Lucia, bird strikes. Now, you know what a bird strike is? When a bird strikes a plane, or it's ingested, or a number of birds are ingested into the engines, that can cause a plane crash. We've seen all the movies, we've seen all the reports, we've seen all the real world incidents where birds have caused planes to crash. Look at the years and the number of strikes: 2010, 21, 2011, 10, 7 in 2012, 10 in 2013. In 2014, there were 18 bird strikes reported. 2015, 20, 2016, 17, and whoa! 2017, there were 42 bird strikes reported at Huanora International Airport. And it says in the report, we can observe a significant increase in the number of notifications at Huanora International Airport, because you know that's not like driving a car and you hit a dog and you go about your business. In aviation, you have to report it. If it's on the ground or whatever, there has to be some structural analysis. They have to look at where the bird hit, whether it's penetrated, whether it's caused a crack in the skin of the aircraft, because that can cause structural failure. So let's see again the rest of that report. What does it say? It's at the bottom, highlighted for your benefit, 944. It says the appropriate authority shall take action to eliminate or to prevent the establishment of garbage disposal dumps or any other source which may attract wildlife to the aerodrome or its vicinity. You hear that? Or unless an appropriate wildlife assessment indicates that they are unlikely to create a condition conducive to a wildlife hazard. Well, obviously, if there are bird strikes, there's a wildlife hazard. So where was our great pilot, the parliamentarian? Was he cruising Was he at takeoff? Was he on autopilot? Was he sleeping in the cockpit? Where was he? Nowhere to be seen or heard as far as this situation is concerned, because I haven't heard anything. Nada. So this government decided to close down the garbage dump. What wrong with that? Has nothing to do with T.O.R. King. But of course, because you don't know, they will feed you the drivel. So the government now, and let me give you, the government now has decided to incinerate our garbage. And speaking with the manager of the Solid Waste Management Administration, 20 incinerators are now on the ground in St. Lucia. Now for one landfill, according to the manager, the head honcho over there, Miseki Professional Lausa, a landfill needs on average 30 acres. The incinerator requires a footprint of about 20,000 square feet. Many times smaller. In fact, 20 by 20,000 is about what? A little less than half an acre for one of those incinerators. But for a landfill, you need 30 acres. So you figure it out, about 60 to 70 times larger in size. It also cuts down on your expenses, because now you can put incinerators in critical areas around the island, and your transportation costs would be much less, because now instead of having to transport garbage from Grosley to Deglo, or from Denry to Deglo, or wherever, you can go just to your village or your town or the city 2 miles, 3 miles away. And I know some people want to be concerned about fumes safe to the environment, and as a matter of fact, it is smokeless. Here's the information. It's smokeless. Anything burns goes through a water and charcoal filters in the system, and the volume is reduced. At the end of it all, it's reduced to a brick. 94% loss in volume. So it's 6% of what went in. So we have the photos or diagram here of how the incinerator operates. And you can see it, of course, just to give you an idea, how it goes through the different chambers, and the smoke, it goes through water, and it's all comes out as vapor or minimal smoke. Let's see the other one, and that's an example of one of those units. And that is another one there, and it can get rid of something like 3 to 4 tons in a 24-hour period. And there you go, folks. You will be hearing much more about this in the days, the months ahead. I think they will be in place, starting to be in place in the next 3 months or so. And that is the information that I have received. And the residue from this, according to the information, is that it can be used as fertilizer. So that's that, folks. Fertilizer. So you want to take a quick break, guys, and we'll be right back for your calls and wrapping up for tonight.
Avoid the congestion and traffic associated with Castries City and Rodney Bay shopping, and come to Gablewoods Mall. We have everything you'd possibly want, from a sprawling supermarket to a complete furniture store, From your choice of elegant boutiques to professional photography, dry cleaning, a hardware store, medical facilities, drugstores, hair and beauty salons, an eyewear center, and so much more. We truly do have it all, along with a food court which provides sumptuous meals and free Wi-Fi while you dine. Parking is plentiful and shopping times most convenient. Come to Gablewoods Mall. We're the mall that started it all.
The Bryce water tanks are of top quality and highly durable.
It's a monolithic tank, meaning it's just one unit, which makes it stronger than the other tanks, which comes in 2 pieces. It also carries a Hellguard lining, which is FDA approved.
Bryce and Company, build for living, build for life.
Tibanan Caribbean Bistro and Bar, nestled within Coco Palm, a boutique hotel in the heart of entertainment capital Rodney Bay, offers a truly unique experience with the best food, drinks, and music. Open 7 a.m. to 12 midnight daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Tibanan specializes in authentic French Caribbean cuisine, delectable tropical cocktails, and the best live entertainment on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Tibanan also offers catering for weddings, special occasions, and conferences. For reservations, call 456-2800 or email reservations@coco-resorts.com. Tibanan Caribbean Bistro and Bar, where passion meets quality.
Tibanan Caribbean Bistro is now open for takeaway and delivery only. Place your orders by calling 456-2866 or 724-9309 or email orders@coco-resorts.com. Takeaway orders to be collected at hotel reception area and delivery fees vary on your location.
Good night, folks, and welcome back to the final segment of the show. I want to say a special good night to our hard-working police officers out there. Good night to you. Every day, you do your due to keep St. Lucia safe. Good night to the firemen. Good night to the firewomen. Good night to our EMS personnel. Good night to Borderley correctional officers there. Let's keep it real. Folks, I want to touch on something just for a short, maybe just a minute. I want you to put up the monies up there because this has been going around. You see that? Allegations of corruption in the government. And I have debunked a number of those there. And they have been popping up over and over and over again. You can take that down. Over and over again. And I need to make something absolutely clear. I don't have time to deal with that tonight, but I will deal with it. I've dealt with a number of them, particularly Cabot. And I went into great detail as to what authorized the NIC to give a loan to an investor. There's nothing wrong with it. It's written into the law. And up to now, none of the hackalacks or any of them have provided any information to debunk the facts of that matter. The NIC is authorized by the Act. And when Emma Hippolyte was there, she presided over the very same thing. But the fact is, when you make an allegation, when you accuse someone, or you accuse the government of corruption, you go, oh, you corrupt, you corrupt. What evidence has been presented to substantiate that? And if anybody has the evidence to substantiate it, present the evidence. Good night to North Dakota. Good night to you, fans of the show all the way out there. Minnesota, good night to you. No evidence. So just putting a list together doesn't prove anything. It doesn't substantiate anything. It's a list. It's just like young guys growing up You know, with how do you prove that? Oh, this one was my girlfriend and that one was my girlfriend. Anybody can say that. It's just like Philip JPF saying he'll inject 250 million as stimulus because of COVID. Up to now, we ain't tell you where the money coming from yet. And since Philip JPA could do it, I did it too. And I offered every St. Lucian $50,000 as my stimulus. Was my stimulus. I offered them. So anybody can jump high and jump low and offer people all kind of stimulus. But it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything at all. People can say all sorts of nonsense about the Prime Minister and make all sorts of allegations and all sorts of nonsense. No proof. No proof at all. You know why there's no proof? Because it's bogus. But let's move on. There's something I want to bring to your attention. You know, there's been a lot of talk, you know, they're raising people up from wherever they are. And they like to talk about Robert Vieux from the St. Lucia National Trust. Well, let us read tonight, folks, a report by Mr. Vieux of the St. Lucia National Trust. Put the report up. The Director's Report, 1992-1993. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to go to a particular section. You go find it if you want. Okay, hold on there. Hold it right there. I know it's a little obscure. The trust will probably stabilize its staff at about 50 employees. The budget will peak at about $1.2 million EC annually, and its assets and revenue are expected to grow sufficiently to keep it viable while reducing its dependence upon what? A government subvention. 1992, 1993, Robert Vieux was saying what to the trust? What was he saying in his what report? In his report, the director's report, that the trust should be weaned. It is expected, he is expecting that the trust would be off of the government subvention. But even up to now, how many years later? 8. And what? When was the subvention stopped? In 2018? 18 and 8. 26 later, they still sucking on the breasts of St. Lucia. 700 thou a year. You know? Let's open the lines, folks. Let's open the line. We'll take that thing down there. That's a little gem of what I have for you next week. I have more for you. I have more because they believe, some people believe, the more noise they make, the more pappy show they spew, the more propaganda they put out there, that it's going to validate because they keep vacillating. But you know what they say about empty vessels, don't you? They make the most noise. Every day, all over, posturing. But another move forward, the new frontier. Vieux Fort is just the edge of that new frontier. Good night. You're on the air. Let's keep it real.
Yes, good night, Mr. Norbert.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, I have a little problem with Mr. Frederick.
You have a problem with what?
Mr. Frederick, concerning Mr. Frederick.
Yes.
Who
are you talking about? The guy who has the Alan Chasney show?
Yeah, the Alan Chasney.
Yeah.
What happened? I don't know Mr. Frederick's business with Mr. Alan Chasney, but I can remember after the general election, Mr. Frederick went over the media and he says, if he will not go on bowed knee to ask for any favor, but if the Prime Minister or the United Workers' Party asks him to give assistance, he is willing to assist. And that's the same United Workers' Party. He had decided if they ask him to assist, he will assist. But now we have a problem with everything the United Workers' Party doing. I find that it's very strange.
Caller, it's very clear. It's obvious that there is no intention, whether it be by Buddy, whether it be by the SLP, whether it be by any of those members opposite, to accept anything that the government does. And if you have been paying attention to what has been going on in St. Lucia, and if you're honest, and if the people of St. Lucia are honest, every single project, every single thing that this government has proposed, that it has done, that it intends to do, is criticized as not good. And the only people who demand, who make those demands of the government, that these projects or whatever they want to do, that they be done in their way, is the failed opposition, which failed in office, which failed to implement the very same things that this government is now doing.
That's so true. So I just cannot understand what is taking place, because that's the same Richard Frederick went on over the media. I will not go on bounded me to ask for any favor, but if they ask me to assist, I am willing to assist. And now you have a problem with the United Workers' Party. You have a problem with everything they're doing. You have a problem with everything.
Well, you know what, caller? We know the reasons behind that. And, you know, Chagouin manifests itself in many ways, many forms. But thank you very much for calling. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks for keeping it real. You know, that's the situation, folks. We can go to the development that's transforming or will transform the city of Castries, and it's happening before our very eyes. And we should have been seeing, almost at this point, the opening of the new police headquarters and the criminal courts in the city of Castries. Almost 2 years was lost. But you can see there, folks, yours truly, putting it on the record, the demolition started Saturday of the old police barracks at the police headquarters location, and the band room, as many of us know it, and the police canteen and the officers' quarters being taken down last week Saturday. In fact, today, there's nothing there. It's all flat, just a little bit of rubble that's going to be gone by tomorrow. They're working tonight. When I passed by, they were working. And you have the video. You can see from across the river what was happening over there. Number to call, 450-0777. We have another call. Good night, you're on the air. Let's keep it real. Good night.
Hello, good evening, and how are you tonight?
Yes, good evening. I'm doing fine. Thank you for calling.
Okay, fine. Thank you. You know, I just like you to assist with something that I observed.
Okay.
I noticed that the drivers are still moving around with trucks that are uncovered. Just last week, I was following two of them from Vieux. I took photos, and funny enough, they were SLU vehicles.
SLU?
So please, could you find out who is responsible and ask those guys? It was very difficult for me.
You said SLU
because
vehicles?
I understood sometime last week they were on the Grosile Highway, and
can you hear me?
Created a really big problem.
Caller, can you hear me?
Yeah, for the drivers.
Hello?
So I think it is important that all the drivers know that it is just not fair to us as fellow drivers. A lot of wind and dust, you know. So kindly help me in this regard. Okay,
can you
bye-bye.
hear me now? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for keeping. I was trying to make sure what number plate she saw, and if she had a number plate, and what time of day and what day it was, so we could hone in on that situation. But the police! Good night, you're on the air. Let's keep it real.
Hello?
Good night, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening, Norbert.
Night, sir. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, let's go.
I am really pleased that tonight that you debunked a lot of the mistruths that Ernest Healy came out with on Timothy's show. He was like a hedgehog that got caught up in headlights.
A deer in the headlights.
Yes, a hare in the headlights. A hedgehog still. But I was wondering, am I the only person in St. Lucia who really find him very chapat? You know, a Creole word called chapat.
You what? I didn't hear what you said. The what?
He chapat. In his delivery, the way he speaks. And there's no content, no substance. And when you dissect what he says line by line, you realize that it's just a lot of fluff.
And bluff.
And
you know, that's the interesting thing. That's a very interesting observation that you make there. And very often, when you listen initially, you sometimes get caught up with, you know, the moment and what's being said. But when you go back and listen with a real critical ear, a lot of nonsense, you know.
It is a lot of nonsense, and that has been happening for a while. Since he came back from London, and you know, people know that he was Kenny's heir to the throne and all this and all that, and people paid him a lot of money, gave him a lot of time. But as time goes by, and you see that he's exposed in the headlights, you see that there's nothing to him. He may have a PhD, yes, but what does that PhD stand for? Is it a pothole ducker? What is it?
Caller, you must be nice now. Be nice.
Because there is nothing to the guy when you dissect him line by line. And people are not foolish anymore.
But I have found too often that when I pay attention, and although you may disagree with the angles of people you disagree with, I find that more so than anybody else, when, you know, if you really go through the content of what he says, the accuracy of what he says, it's really, really, really far off. Really far off. But anyway, I'd like to thank you so much for calling. We're kind of short on time. We're trying to get a few more calls in. Thank you very much for calling. Thanks for keeping it real. So, of course, folks, I promise you, every Tuesday night, just about as we're ready to wrap up, there we go. St. Jude's in all its glory. That's this afternoon. And things are beginning to take shape down there. I think they're almost ready to start the second phase. Next week, Tuesday, I will give you more definite information on what's going. But you can see the hospital has taken shape. And we have another call. Good night. You're on the air. Let's keep it real. Good night. Nobody there? Okay. We'll continue with the photos.
Yeah, good night.
Good night, sir. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Norbert.
Yes, good night, sir.
Mr. Yes.
Okay, please turn down your device.
Okay. I'm doing so. What I would like to do for Mr. Norbert,
yes,
is to play the clip where the Honorable Prime Minister Kenny Antonio.
I didn't hear you. Where what?
Where the clip where Dr. Kenny Antonio is being interviewed by
Jadia.
Jadia.
Yes.
Yeah, Jadia. Play that every night for people to see and listen properly. That he couldn't get money. No institution used to give him money. And now, Philip JP, I want to give how many $1 million. I want to know how he's going to do it. If Kenny couldn't do it in the time where there was no COVID, there was nothing in the way.
Exactly.
And today, he wants to give so many $1 million. I want to know where he's going to get it and how he's going to do it. I don't know. He's just a funny man. I don't know. I would like to play this. I would like to play this clip every show, so to show the people of St. Lucia what is going on.
Caller, from deep inside of the beast, I have been informed that this clip enrages certain people. But I'm not the one who said it. All I do is bring the information to you so you can conduct your own analysis of the paralysis.
Yes, I would like to play. I would like you to play it every week for the people.
Okay then. Thank you very
Okay.
much, caller. Thanks for
Okay.
keeping it real. Have a good night. Okay, that about wraps it up. What do we got? One more call? We have one more? Oh, nothing there. Okay. Well, that's it for tonight, folks. We're still going with St. Jude's. And as you can see, all the supports are moved. Look at that shot. Hold that shot right there. As you can see, it's beginning to take shape. And you can see where the rooms will be and the windows, and the roof is done. All the buildings are up. And you can see the floors, and you can see through that space there in the middle. You can see the connecting corridors down the center and down the sides, the north, south, east, and west corridors. And right where you have that cement pump there is the entrance, or will be the entrance, of the new St. Jude's Hospital down there in Vieux Fort. Taking shape. Next week, I will have a special report on St. Jude's for you, because quite a lot of things will be happening there. And of course, tomorrow, I tell BPO, another call center in the south, will be opening, the official opening. So that's more jobs in the south, more money in circulation down in the south. And if you haven't been there in a while, take a drive down, take the family down, drive around, and you will see the development that is going down there on the hill, the construction. I have never seen activity in Vieux Fort like I saw, and like I've seen like over the past year. And I'm telling you folks, last week Friday, it was unbelievable, the activity that was in Vieux Fort on a Friday. People got paid, money was in circulation. Nothing like the ghost town that so many people lamented about over the years. That's it for tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I know we had a packed night. We, as usual, need more time. I know many of you wanted to call, but every show it keeps going and going, because there's so much I'm trying to cram in here so you can get the information, so you can make a real informed decision. Keep it real. Thank you so much for joining me in the diaspora and all around St. Lucia, in Richford, Dennery, in Canneries, in Jacmel, all over St. Lucia, Oleon, Mico, Vieux Fort, Pierrot. The Red Caps, you're back in business in Vieux Fort. Good night to you. Thank you to all the supermarket workers, the frontline workers in St. Lucia, and everybody who makes it possible every day. Policemen, firemen, everyone. Border Lake Correctional Officers, firewomen, the EMS, the ambulance people. Thank you so much for your service in keeping St. Lucia safe. Thank you for joining me once again. I'm Norbert Williams. Until next week, good night.
The opinions expressed.
Hot 7 TV is the rising star of television in St. Lucia, with our stunning 100% HD quality, fresh exciting programming, including a balanced professional newscast. We are now the fastest growing TV station